slick professional show.
I'm sure
my
he doesn't.
God, I think he does actually. I think he does.
I think he does actually.
Malcolm, hang on. He may be as incompetent technically as I am.
Hang on, he may be as.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Malcolm, but have you got the Twitch stream on as well? Because we can hear a bit of echo.
Have you got the Twitch?
Let me turn that off.
Thank you. He's one of me. I feel so much better. He's one of me.
There we go.
Malcolm, we cannot see you. Do you? We may not have to. We may not see you. It's up to you.
I'd be quite happy for you too.
Come on, look at that beautiful little face.
Let's have a look. Oh,
Yeah,
hi, Malcolm.
come on. Why would you want to hide that?
Hi guys, how are you?
It's really nice to see you. Now, we've been speaking for a while.
I know you have. I've been listening.
About we're going to pick you up on two things.
I know.
But we've been speaking for ages about Beach Boys. You did the brilliant. It was a Facebook page, and then it became like an online thing, or maybe it was the other way around. Beach Boys album covers.
That's
and
right. Yeah.
The stories behind each album cover.
That's right.
We haven't met, have we? Or have we? Did meet?
We did at the Beach Boys Stomp convention a few years ago.
And it was right. Okay, Beach Boys Stomp is this great. What used to be this great Beach Boys fanzine. Right, it was a lot of fun. And in the 80s, they surprised everyone. It's in this Village Hall in South London.
You sent me a picture of when you went to the Beach Boys thing.
Well, in the 80s, they did a great one where they're in this Village Hall and they had technical problems. They said, just give us a second. They closed the curtains. They opened the curtains. Brian Wilson is sat there.
Oh.
Brian
That was
Wilson
the year before I started to go.
I went the next year. I went the year after.
So did I.
And I seen and I just think, oh my God. And this was when you didn't see Brian Wilson. You know, he didn't do any. He was with the surf Nazis, Eugene Landy, etc. So I went to that, and then I went to one a few years ago, and boy oh boy, it's a little bit smaller. I suspect a lot of the people that went to the one we went to, Malcolm, are sadly no longer with us because it was quite a long time ago.
Probably so.
So
but they're still holding out hope that one day the curtains will go back again and he'll still be there.
Well, the next year I thought that the Beach Boys might be there because they were in Paris at the time, the night before, and I thought, well, maybe Mike and Al, maybe even Carl will rock up, and they didn't.
No.
So we're not going to dwell too much on the history. You did that. You did a book about bread. You did the brilliant book about the association, which I was obsessed. People watching this are
Thank you very much.
It's so good. They're sick of me playing Windy
over and over again.
But listen, the last 5 repeats where they keep adding something to it. But listen, and I love that book. And then I saw you were writing a book about the Hollies, and I thought, why is he doing that? There must be loads of books about the Hollies.
Ah, well, I'd dispute that.
Well, there aren't. That's the thing.
Yeah, why do you think about the Beach Boys, the Monkees, the Beatles, the Stones? They've all got dozens of books on each of them, haven't they? The Hollies, 1 or 2 at best.
I couldn't believe it. I thought, well, I'll go and have a little read up of the Hollies. And there was hardly anything out there. Why did you... And it's such a great book. I read it in 2 days, and I never do that. Sat with my Kindle in the garden, just reading it. Kath would phone up.
And it sent you back into the Hollies, didn't it?
Oh, man. Every now and then, like every 3-4 years, Malcolm, I remember how great the Hollies are.
They were.
And why did you write that? Why did you choose? I mean, the bread, the association, the Hollies, not kind of the first things that people would think of.
No, what it comes down to is I've always liked all 3 bands, but when I wanted to actually research them or find about them myself, there was nothing on them.
Yeah.
Bread, nothing on David Gates and Bread in the history. Association didn't really make it over here, did they?
No.
Had, one minor hit over here, but that was about it. But so those 2 books I did because nobody else had done it. The Hollies, I kind of thought, there's got to be something. Got to be. I was listening to one of their albums. I thought, well, where can I find about this album? Nowhere.
Nothing.
So I've done 2. Let's give this one a go. And it developed and it came a little bit more than I anticipated it. Because, I mean, you've read it. You probably haven't seen the physical one.
Although, Jesus, that's bigger than the association one.
Yeah. Clearly, there's 2 bits missing. There's nothing about the Harry Cornflake or Tommy. But,
we're coming to
There's
that.
still time.
We're coming to that.
Waiting that. But, that's...
But this is it. And I haven't read the Bread one. I'm not a massive fan of Bread, but I am a big fan of your writing. So I'm going to go back to that. The association and the Hollies, it's not quite Mark Lewison territory where you find out that in 1887 Ringo's granddad bought a hat. but,
Pretty close
I,
at
stole,
times.
I stole that joke from someone, but I love it. But it's forensic detail you're going into. It is all covered. And one of my least favorite things about rock biographies is, say it's a 60s band, they'll like 2/3 of the book will be about the 60s.
Yeah.
And then the last bit will be, and in the 70s they did this, and then the 80s, and then they had a reunion. And I want all of that stuff to have equal attention. And you do that in both the Association and the Hollies book. You give it all this equal attention.
That's because I think the group have achieved so much over the years. They might not have had the hits they did in the early days, but they've been going ever since, same with the Association. And a lot of people are like me, sad people maybe, but they want to know the full story.
Yeah.
They don't just want to know about it ended in 1969, nothing else happened after that. So there are a couple of books on the Hollies, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
One of them is a very informative book, but it kind of ends when the hits end.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to continue on, because the new lead singer, Peter Howarth, does a great job, and he doesn't get covered too much. People think when Alan Clark left, that was it.
Yeah. I'm thrilled. I get a little name check in the book.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, you do? Yeah, of course you do.
I wish Ian Lee would stop calling me. I'm trying to write a book.
Malcolm
I forgot that. I forgot to give you a name check.
Yeah, I'm in it. Because we had Tony Hicks on Three Counties. Catherine was working there.
Yes.
We had Tony Hicks on because we had an American fan. It was something to do with buying a car. I can't quite remember. And we got Tony Hicks on. I remember it was really difficult to get him on because I don't know if he doesn't really like doing interviews. He seems like a very quiet, kind of private man. But it took I remember emailing the management saying, well, we just asked this, and I kind of had to say why I love the band so much, and gets a mention in the book quite early on. I was thrilled. I was thrilled by that. Yeah, how long does it take you to do it? Because there is a lot of detail. How long does it go from, right, I'm going to do a Hollies book to holding the book?
Well, it's been getting easier each time. Going back to my first one, which is Bread, which is David Gates and Bread, which is a little bit thinner, not quite a stick, that one.
You're an amateur at this point, yes.
Yeah. That took 5 years from beginning to end. Research, writing, they just getting it actually published. The second one, the Association, I thought publishers, pain in the backside. Right. So I've self-published the Association one myself. 2.5 years.
Okay.
Hollies 1 year and a half.
Wow. Oh, is it because you're learning the techniques, I guess, of how to do
it? Yes,
yeah.
It comes a little bit easier to me. I'm not a professional writer by any means. I failed my English O-level, I seem to recall. But I can tell a story as I think I can.
Yeah.
And after 3 books, I think I know the way it's going to flow.
Yeah. And
once I've got the information in front of me, so it kind of came quite quickly, that one. So in theory, by the time I get to the 6th book, whoever that's going to be on.
Be a week.
Yeah. A couple of days looking at.
By the way, I'm posting the link in the chat, dojotonepublications.com, and you can get all of the books there. You can also download the Beach Boys covers, the album covers stuff. A lot of the album covers by the Beach Boys designed by a friend of ours, Dean Torrance.
Oh, yeah.
I get emails from time to time from Dean Torrance just checking in. It's the coolest thing.
He's such a nice man,
isn't he?
Yeah.
Such a sweetheart. He's adorable. But so I'm going to keep putting the link in the chat. Go and have a look.
Question for you. Dojo Tone. Where did I get that name from?
Now, you mentioned this, and it doesn't spring to mind immediately.
Who do you know begins with Doe?
Dolenz.
Joe.
Jones.
Toe.
Talking Nesmith.
Oh.
Hey!
How could you have missed that?
Jeez.
Kind of a person. Who are you?
I can't. I have to give it up. I don't know. All right, I don't know. I don't really like the Monkeys. It's all been a pretense.
I've been a huge fan since '67. So, they've got so many books on them, haven't they? I couldn't write one of them.
Well, they have. I'm looking forward to the new Sandoval book.
Yes,
coming out.
So am I.
I went for the cheap one, the $75 one, as opposed to the $300 one. But I mean, he knows and I've been, as I'm sure you're aware, I've been lucky enough to work with Nesmith and with Dolenz. Didn't really want anything to do with us, and with the Davy Jones estate, and.
If you think that's a doorstop, what's the Sandoval book going to be like? It's massive, 700 pages, isn't it?
It's going to be insane. Okay, the 2 things that you've heard us say. So, is it possible that Tommy was somehow inspired by "Listen to Me," the Holly song, where he goes, "Your ears are deaf, your mouth is dumb, your eyes are blind." It only dawned on me the other day when I was listening to it in the car. Oh, I think that came out before Tommy.
I haven't got an answer to that. That's a good one. That is a good question. Very good question.
Isn't it? Because it's a weird thing to sing in a pop song, deaf, dumb, and blind. Oh, suddenly there's a single and then there's a huge double album a year later.
That's a valid point. I'm going to follow that one up. I'm going to make a mental note of that one, and
Thank you.
I'm going to follow that up and try and get back to you on that one.
I want full credit. I don't want any. I'm keen to know. And I had an argument with someone earlier on. I've been doing a 9-hour stream. I talked about this book, and someone went, "Oh yeah, God, Dave Lee Travis managed them when their first tour of the States." I went, "No, he didn't." And then apparently on the Dave Lee Travis "This Is Your Life," the Hollies come out and say,
really?
"Thanks for." So is there anything in this? I'm not accusing.
I hadn't included in the book because I haven't had confirmation on it. I haven't managed to track down. I have heard that he was associated with them.
Right.
As was another former DJ who we shan't talk about.
Oh, okay, another one. Yes.
Yeah. But back then, DLT was certainly based up Manchester way.
Yeah, he's from Odsall, isn't he?
Yeah. So the chances are he was very possibly linked to them in the early days, as was, of course, Alvin Stardust, when the pre-Alvin Stardust name, when he was still Shane Fenton.
I didn't realise that Alvin Stardust was doing so much so early in the 60s. I knew it was a bit like Bowie and Bolan, that there was a little bit of stuff, a little bit of hustling going on before finding the voice. But Stardust was around for ages.
Yeah, well, he was born Bernard Jury, and then when the real Shane Fenton, or the person who was being Shane Fenton, should we say, in the early days, with Shane Fenton and the Fentones, passed away, they needed somebody to step in.
Oh.
So they got Bernard Jury to step in, and he became Shane Fenton.
I did not know that.
And then Shane Fenton had his hits. They dried up, so to speak. He went into part-time management, and he looked after the Hollies for a while.
The early 60s, there's so much. It's really incestuous. You look at the obvious example is Ringo, Rory, Storm, and the Hurricanes, and joining the Beatles.
But they were all working the same patch,
Yeah.
weren't they? So of course there would be sort of cross-pollination.
Yeah. The thing, and I messaged this to you, and I love that association book. But by the time you get to 1978, 1979, I said to Malcolm, geez, I really wish they'd stop recording albums. I really wish they'd just do that thing of splitting up and then getting back together in 20 years. And, but they just kept plodding on and different configurations. And, is it the association where the association are playing in a venue and they hear that the association are playing in another venue?
What?
With no original. You tell the story, Malcolm, because it's incredible.
That's right. Well, what happened was about 1978. There was only one member of the association left, and he was still touring as a band. But then he ran into financial difficulties, so he leased the name out.
Right.
The original band disappeared, etc., etc. A couple of years later, they got back together again. Reunion tour all around America. Went to a venue, and as they were passing to go to their venue, they saw a big poster up, sort of saying the association appearing tonight. Well, hang on, we're over there. Who's appearing here? So they went into the show to watch it. They were sitting in the audience, watching this band, pretending to be the association.
None of the members are in this band.
No. So they sent a little note up to the stage saying, "Do these names mean anything to you?" And the guy's reading on stage. He's going, "Oh my God!" And apparently he went white as a sheet, knowing that the actual association watching him.
I mean, he could have got away with it. America's so massive.
Yeah.
What are the odds?
Yeah, well, these things happen. But also, in the book, you're saying that they're on stage. These people who have never, not the band, going, well, we recorded this one in 1967. I remember being in the studio.
No. Oh God. Well, they deserved it then.
I did feel a similar thing with the Hollies when they get into the late 70s, early 80s. I'm thinking,
yeah.
Come on, guys, just stop doing the albums. Certainly stop trying to chase the hits.
I think by then they kind of almost got into a rut. I mean, a lot of fans are very, very keen on those late 70s albums. The Russian Roulette album, Right On, still very popular amongst the fan group. But they were very trying to chase the formula.
Yeah.
By then the formula was The Air That I Breathe, He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother, that sort of smooth ballad.
The big ballad, the torch song.
Yeah. There was a few rocky ones in there, of course, but it didn't kind of hit it home, so to speak. They didn't. I don't know. There's something missing. There's no bite in it. And of course, Alan then had enough and for various reasons, he departed the ranks. And it kind of all went a little bit quiet on them. And it's a great shame the way they did fade away. And Alan retired soon after completely, although he came back a couple of years ago with a fantastic solo album.
The solo album was great, wasn't it? And
It was.
and he's like 77 now, I think. And it just came from nowhere. It's like, oh shit, this is out. And it's quite good,
Yeah.
no reason for it to be.
Yeah. But it's almost like a divided camp now. You either love the Hollies with Nash and Clark,
Yeah.
or you like the Hollies as they are now.
Yeah.
A lot of the fan groups, they can't get together with the whole lot, so to speak.
Well, here's the thing. The Hollies now, different singer. I'd go and see them. To hear the hits.
I've got my tickets for next spring.
Are they doing a tour next spring?
Well, COVID permitting. There was supposed to be one this year,
Yeah, of course.
and of course that got put back. So
Oh, well, I'm going to have some of that then, because, it's not
come on down to South End and I'll see you there.
All right, well, do you know what? I'm up for that. I would see that, because I just want to hear the songs being sung. There's such great songs.
Peter Howarth, the new front guy, he used to back Cliff and people like that. He's a very, very good singer.
Right.
And they've got Ray Styles from Mud as bass player now.
One of my favourite periods is it is he Swedish? The Swedish singer?
Oh,
yeah,
you've
Michael
shown me the
Redford.
videos of that.
And he
They
doesn't
did two great albums.
and he
Great
doesn't
album.
speak English. And so he's learning a lot of it, or he doesn't speak it very well.
Yeah,
So he's learning a lot of the hits kind of phonetically.
that's
And,
right.
I mean, what a beautiful man. We watched He Ain't Heavy on Midnight Special.
Yeah.
What a beautiful man.
Yeah, he
But
looked the part, didn't
a
he?
strange twist for the band to do that.
He didn't have any stage presence though. He used to like sort of sliding into the sidelines, so to speak,
Right.
not in the spotlight. But yeah, those two albums they did with him. It's almost like, we talked about the Beach Boys, don't we? We both love the Beach Boys. I hope you're looking as much to the new box set that's coming out soon as much as I am.
Feel Flows is ordered, and I wish they'd stop pushing the date back, but I'll accept it whenever it comes.
But everybody knows the Beach Boys hits, and then they got the early 70s where they went a little bit progressive.
Yeah.
The Hollies did exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
That Hollies period, 71, 72, some great stuff they did in that period. Great stuff. And it gets overlooked a little bit.
Speaking of that 70s Beach Boys, for me, Sunflower is the album that everyone thinks Pet Sounds is. Sunflower is just the one where, oh
I
man,
think both those albums, Sunflower and Surf Up, phenomenal.
oh, it's wonderful. Have the Hollies contributed to this in any way? Did you approach them? Did they want to talk? Are they not bothered?
I'd have loved to have got through to the what shall we say, the key members.
Right.
Because there's been so many over the years. I was very fortunate then when researching the early period. Obviously, before Bobby Ellett, there was Don Rathbone on drums. I spoke with Don. He's not healthy these days, bless him, but he's a lovely guy. And he lent me some of their memorabilia.
Brilliant.
The original tour diaries of 1962, 63.
Wow.
You're flicking through that thinking, wow, this is history.
Treasure, yeah.
And obviously, before Tony Hicks joined, there was actually another lead guitarist before Tony Hicks. Although Tony was there from the very first hits, before him, doing the foundation, there was another guy, Vic Steele. And I spoke to Vic. So I very much found about the early years. When it came down to the hit years, it's not easy getting through to them these days.
No one wants to talk.
Well, Tony, as you found out for yourself, he's quite a quiet, private guy.
Yeah.
Bobby was probably publicising his own book, so I couldn't get through to Bobby. Bobby brought his own autobiography out a couple of years ago, which is a very good read.
Yeah.
It's from his perspective, which is where mine differs. Alan, I'd love to speak to Alan, but again, I just could not get through to them, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But thankfully, over the years, they've produced so many interviews, and I had clips coming at my ears. There's so much to research and read on.
I tried to get Alan on the Talk Radio show and just couldn't get through to him. But Dom Rathbone.
Was the guy we met in the cafe that time?
We met Dom Rathbone in a cafe in Dunstable.
Yeah.
Yes, of course, he lives Relives.
Yeah. We met this guy. I can't remember how we started talking
We were
to
talking
him.
to his wife. He and his wife came
Oh,
in.
she's
And-
Greasy Spoon.
Stella is the most lovely lady in the world.
Yeah.
Yes. So we were talking to them, and it just came up, wasn't it? Of course, he used to be in a band. You might have
But
heard
there
of
used
them.
to be a band in the 60s. All right, every old man was in a band in the 60s. Go on, what was it?
Yeah, in the Hollies, and we both went. We sort of dropped our sausages, didn't we?
It was amazing.
Couldn't believe it. But what was going on with him?
Well, he said, and it's slightly different to what's said in your book. He said to what didn't he say? He's got MS, hasn't he? I think.
Yes, he's that's one of the things that's ailing.
Right, and
And
didn't
he
he say that
suspects
his timing was off a bit because of the MS,
Yeah,
that
he
it hadn't been
suspects that what
diagnosed.
it was.
That's what he suggested to us. I don't know. It's
That's come on in more recent years. Obviously, we don't want to go into detail about
Yeah.
the lovely man, but that's what's come on in recent years. obviously back then he left in '63.
Yeah.
He was a healthy, fit young man.
Yeah.
And
But
it's the best story again, isn't it?
It is, but what a nice guy. And honestly, just so charming. And it just came out of this conversation. It wasn't him fishing going, you may know who I am. It's just, my old man used to be in a band. Oh, what was the Hollies? What? And we had such a lovely chat with him. And I think we were there for about half.
Didn't he come on the show after that? Or I can't remember.
I don't think he did. I don't think we chased it up, unfortunately. But we were sat with him for about half an hour, having a fry up and talking to one of the drummers from the Hollies. It was magic. I didn't realise, obviously Graham Nash, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young was in the Hollies and when they wanted to get a bit psychedelic, and Mama Cass, big fans of Mama Cass on this show. Cass Elliot is just, she kind of runs through everything.
Yeah.
Nearly everyone we've spoken to, we've had obviously John Sebastian we've had on the show. But
her back garden is like where it all knitted together.
Then you talk about Dolenz and all of these people were there. What was the point I was going to... I didn't realise how much kind of towards the end of the 70s and the early 80s that Nash was supportive of the Hollies. I thought once he had CSN, and he's slightly dismissive of the music, calling it pop music, and Crosby, Stills and Nash music is important. But I didn't realise he was so supportive of Alan Clark and the band as well.
Yeah, I think over the years, originally after he left, there was a little bit of hard feeling between him and Alan. They'd grown up together, they'd been in school since they were 5, 6, 7, at school together. So they were great friends. And of course, 68, 69, there he goes. He goes wandering off to America. Poor Alan suddenly lost his best friend, his partner. And I think it hit Alan really hard, which is what affected Alan so much. But underneath it all, there was still that friendship there.
Yeah.
Alan went across to see him a few times, and they stayed in touch. I think Graham always saw the Hollies as a stepping stone, for want of a better way of putting it, because as my book says, CSN is like God to him, and the Hollies got him there, so to speak. It's good fun music, but that's all it is.
Yeah.
But he was always so supportive of Alan, to the extent that they are now actually working together again as we speak.
Wow.
Albeit via Zoom link.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, so touch wood, something will come out of that.
I say that's exciting. I hadn't heard the mid-'80s Hollies reunion with Graham Nash. It's a little bit... I mean, Nash was not firing on all cylinders through the 80s anyway, as much as I'm a fan. And their 80s album, their version, I'll play it in a bit, Stop in the Name of Love.
Why?
It's very synth-heavy.
Don't.
And I listened to the reunion...
It was that period, wasn't it? It's like the Monkeys and Pull It.
Oh, I love Pull It.
Oh, no.
Heart and Soul, I love it. What a song, man. What a song. The Long Way Home, I think is such a great song, but it's synth heavy. But I listened to that reunion album from the mid-'80s, the live album, sorry. Reunion concert.
Yeah.
That's all right. I mean, it is a bit synth heavy and they mess around with the tunes a bit, but that's a great... Hearing them together is great. Clark
I think the fallback with that reunion album was they are great songwriters, and yet they did not write one song on it.
No.
That was why. Graham Nash can write songs, Alan Clark, Tony Hicks, they're all great songwriters.
Yeah.
So why didn't they contribute their own stuff? That still puzzles me.
I would listen, if you're listening, right, go on Spotify, listen to all of the 60s singles. There's so many hits. And of course they get overlooked by the Beatles and the Stones and the Kinks and the Who. But there's so many hits, and you go, oh shit, I didn't know this one. I'm alive. Look through any window. I didn't.
They're solid.
Boom, we were listening in the car the other day. Everyone. And then I urge you, dear listener, listen to He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother, and pretend you've never heard it before.
Yeah.
Right? Because we know it. It's everywhere. Pretend you've never heard it before. It's Alan Clark's voice on that.
Yeah.
It's incredible. There's a little bit of the club singer because they're doing, Batley Variety Club and all that. His voice on that, the production on that, powerful stuff, isn't it?
Beautiful, yeah.
He is such an overlooked singer, I think. When you mentioned the Stones, the Who, after the Beatles, the Hollies had the most top 20 hit singles in the UK.
Right.
People tend to forget that.
Yeah.
People think of the Stones, they think of the Who. They think of the American import acts like the Beach Boys and the Monkees and the Byrds. The Hollies just get swept aside. Why?
Well, I would suggest partly it's an image thing. You know, we watched the video for Listen to Me,
Yeah.
1968, white tuxes, black bow ties.
I was going to say, with the Beatles and the Stones, it was music that maybe your mum and dad wouldn't get, but the Hollies, the mum and dads liked them as
It's
well,
the mum
didn't
and
they?
dads, and it's
Yeah.
the kids, and it's
Yeah.
and it's that.
As
there's that-
Ian says, playing Batley Variety Club certainly
Yeah.
didn't help.
And there's that great, I think, is it the Talk of the Town? There's that concert of them that's filmed, and it's like 68, and they're doing like really bad gags, and it's that white tux, and it's
That's possibly the one from Romania, I think it was.
Okay.
Or Croatia, I think it was.
it could be. I haven't seen it
They've
for a
got
long,
one,
long
yeah.
time, and you just think, who was?
But that was their heritage, wasn't it? They were doing the working men's
Yeah,
clubs. That's
yeah.
how they
Yeah.
cut their teeth.
They're such a good band, and your book, Malcolm. Honestly, I devoured it in 2 days. I never do that, and it was.
Well, thank you.
It's a thrill. I'm going to post the link again. I've been posting it in the chat. I thoroughly recommend it, and you know, even if you just go and listen to a greatest hits, listen to He Ain't Heavy. I mean, King Midas. There's so many of them that are just magnificent.
And actually, it's my dad's birthday next month. I'll have some of that.
Have some of that.
I love it.
Have
Well,
some
he's a
of that.
Salford lad, you see. So.
I'll personally sign it, sir.
Oh, brilliant. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Malcolm. It's so nice to see you again, and hopefully, maybe I see you in Southend next year. I'm definitely going to come to one of those shows on the tour, so why not make it that one?
The drinks are on me if you turn up.
Lovely to see you, man. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Best
Thanks,
of luck
Malcolm.
with the
Take
book.
care. Thanks, guys.
Thank you,
Em.
mate.
All the
There we
best.
go. It's such a good read. What a nice guy.
I love those books, though, that you can really get into and then you re-listen to the music and